can start.
Yep. Hello, my name is Ara Jung, working as a South Korean business coordinator and regulatory researcher. The purpose of this presentation is to give you an idea about what is CII and how chemical registration processes look like. The first chapter of this presentation is about overviewing CII, which includes background, scope, major obligation, and only representative. And the second chapter is about existing chemical registration. The third chapter is to introduce polymer registration. And the last chapter will be to summarize following actions required for non-Korean chemical manufacturers. Giving you backgrounds about CII, the full name is the Act on Registration and Evaluation of Chemical Substances, and there are two subordinate regulations. The aim is to protect public health and the environment, and this is achieved by four procedures, namely chemical registration, evaluation, authorization, and restriction. CII has been enforced since January 1st, 2015, and the recent amendment has come into force on January 1st, 2019. There are two major obligations under CII. One is registration and the other is reporting. Registration is required in case existing substances manufactured and imported over 1 ton per year, and 510 priority existing chemicals, PECs, over 1 ton per year, and new substances over 0.1 ton per year. Existing substance refers to chemicals already being circulated in Korean market. Among existing chemicals, 510 substances are designated due to its hazard. New substance refers to all chemicals excluding the existing substances. Reporting is required in case of new substances less than 0.1 ton per year. Polymer having had exempted from hazardous assessment and product containing priority control substances are under the scope. Then what chemicals are exempted? On the left side, one can see the list where no action is required, meaning that it doesn't require any confirmation from the authority. For instance, chemicals contained in the machine and do not leak in the process of using the product, natural substances existing in nature, 44 designated substances that are known to be harmless, such as glucose and starch, and chemicals subject to other laws, such as cosmetics, raw materials, to name a few. On the other hand, the right block shows the list where confirmation is required. First is chemicals exported through Korea, which needs to be renewed its confirmation every year. The others are chemicals used for R&D purpose, polymers having less concern, and surface-treated chemicals, non-isolated intermediate, and on-site isolated intermediate. Major obligations under CII can be summarized as you can see on the slide. Who does need to perform major obligations? First is chemical manufacturers and importers in South Korea. Second is only representative appointed by foreign manufacturers. What they need to do is to register new substances over 0.1 ton per year and existing substances over 1 ton per year. Or report new substances less than 0.1 ton per year and designated polymers. And last, for existing substances, you need to pre-register. All these obligations should be done before manufacture and import to South Korea. And in case you have done pre-registration, you need to register each substances until the registration deadline ends. So what is OR? Only representative is a concept of intermediary for foreign companies who are not based in South Korea and want to comply with carriage. Foreign manufacturers can appoint an OR to fulfill carriage obligations. Several benefits for foreign manufacturers to appoint an OR and proceed chemical registration or recordings are summarized in the slide. First benefit is independence, which means you don't need to be dependent on current buyers. Second benefit is desirability. Once you get pre-registration certificate, the extended deadlines you can enjoy. It gives you another benefit, which makes you easier to explore Korean market. The last benefit is lower cost. A less page of carriage compliance, more cost investment is required. The second chapter focuses on how to register existing chemicals. First of all, we need to know what is existing chemical. Existing chemical includes mixture, single substance, and UVCB. In case of mixture, each element consisting a mixture should be registered if quantity is over 1 ton per year. For both mixture and single substance, the contents of impurities and byproducts does not have to be registered separately, but should be included when register each of the substance. Under carriage, polymer is considered as single substance, unlike carriage, and we will refer to this on the next chapter. UVCB is unknown or variable composition, complex reaction products, or biological materials. And UVCB substance is considered as a registration unit unless elements consisting UVCB are imported separately or distributed on the market. Then how does registration process look like? It starts from pre-registration, which is applicable in case of the existing chemicals manufactured and imported for over 1 ton per year. Foreign manufacturers can also pre-register their substances. Once pre-registering is done, full dossier submission is extended up to 2030, varying upon tonnage ban. The second step is to form CII, Chemical Information Communicative Organization, which is a substance registration committee like a CIF in EU. The purpose of organizing a CII is to prepare dossier together. Joint dossier preparation and submission is one of the obligations under carriage, and manufacturers and importers of the same substance shall form a CII. The third and fourth steps are to identify required toxicological data, often called data gap analysis, and submit them to the authority to get a registration certificate. After pre-registration, existing chemical registration deadlines are extended as summarized in the slide. For existing substances manufactured and imported over 1,000 tons per year, and CMR substances over 1 ton per year should register full dossier until the end of 2021. For existing substances of 100 to 1,000 ton per year should be registered by 2024. For 10 to 100 ton by 2027, and 1 to 10 tons by 2030. Although pre-registration deadline was June 30th, 2019, Late pre-registration is possible. It is recommended to complete pre-registration at least 12 months before relevant registration deadline ends. As mentioned before, SICO is a substance registration committee like the SIF in EU. It aims to prepare a registration dossier with other registrants. There are different roles in SICO, and the first is lead registrant and active member. They engage in management of a SICO from the beginning and pre-invest costs needed for dossier preparation. The price will be determined after finalizing data gap analysis and price negotiation with the data owners. Often, LR submit dossier on first 10 among all other SICO members, and once it is approved by the authority, the other active members employ the dossier. Since LR and active members have ownership of the registered dossier, later profits might be incurred from selling this dossier to late registrant, which can compensate the investment. Second role is passive member, often called late registrant. They purchase letter of access, which is an agreement on sharing data and granting a right to refer the registered dossier. Often they pay more than the amount what LR and active members pre-invested. The price is predictable. However, if the substance of late registrant is not the same with the registered substances, then it might cause additional costs such as CSR preparation. The table shows the list of required data to be submitted. Manufacturers and importer contact information, chemical identity, use details, and exposure information is submitted individually. Classification and labeling, FISCAN properties, hazard dossier shall be submitted jointly. Chemical safety report, CSR, and guidance on safe use is selective, meaning that if members agree on joint submission, it can be jointly submitted. Often, cost investment is consisted of three pillars: SICO management cost, data production or purchase cost, and CSR preparation cost. SICO management costs are to coordinate SICO activities, which will be divided equally by the number of active members. Data production and purchase costs are to prepare FISCAN properties and hazard dossier, which will be divided by the number of active members having the same tonnage band. Regarding CSR cost, if active member decide to submit CSR jointly, then it could be divided among members having the same tonnage band. It is common that CSR preparation cost includes only one common exposure scenario and charges extra per additional scenario. For dossier preparation and submission, data gap analysis is performed. It aims to identify necessary toxicological dossier for compliance with carriage, which includes FISCAN property, 13 items, human toxicity, 15 items, and environmental toxicity, 19 items. The number of required data differs depending on the tonnage band. The detailed data requirement is listed according to the tonnage band in the table, and blue letters refers to data points where research plan can replace test result. Test having underline refer to data point should be produced in lab compliant to GLP. However, data submission can be simplified if a substance has no hazard, classification, or loss of toxicity. In details, when substance hazard is not classified, only 15 toxicological data are required, which are equivalent to the data requirement of 1 to 10 tons per year. And chemical safety report, CSR, is exempted. When a substance hazard is classified as low, only 33 toxicological data are required to submit. Unlike E-REACH, K-REACH requires manufacturers and importers to register polymer. Based on definition and scope of polymer registration specified in K-REACH, they shall either register manufactured or imported polymers or apply for an exemption certificate. In general, most of the registration processes are same with existing substance, so this chapter focuses on the different features of polymer registration. Then what polymers need compliance? First, one needs to check the definition of polymer specified in K-REACH. Polymer is composed of molecules in which at least one kind of monomer unit is continuously repeated, presenting the characteristic distribution of molecular weight in accordance with repetitive numbers of monomer units in each molecule. Third and fourth bullets are important, which is molecules consisted of at least 3 monomer units forming a covalent bond with at least 1 monomer unit or other reactant to be more than 50%. Molecules of the same molecular weight be less than 50% of the weight ratio is the last definition. Under the scope, it includes polymers meeting polymer definition. Besides, it includes a cationic polymer, a polymer meeting number average molecular weight criteria, and contents of unreacted monomer criteria. Exempted polymer requires a confirmation by the authority, and this polymer should meet certain number average molecular weight criteria and contents as outlined in red colored letter. Polymers having less concern are exempted, which meets the specific criteria outlined in the slide, such as number average molecular weight at the contents. Major obligation of polymer registration can be summarized as you can see on the slide. Who does needs to perform chemical manufacturer and importers in South Korea, as well as only representative appointed by foreign manufacturers. What they need to do is to identify your substance and pre-register substance as other existing substances and register or get an exemption certificate. All these obligations should be done before manufacture and import to South Korea. In case you have done pre-registration, you need to register each substances until your registration deadline ends. Polymer registration requires to submit toxicological data, but this requirement is different from the existing chemical requirement. Data requirements are different from, and this is a list in the table so you can refer to. In case substance is hazard classified, maximum 27 data are required. If not, maximum 16 data are required, as you can see in the red box on the table. If numerous CII members register a polymer having same or somewhat similar polymer properties, test data can be jointly submitted. Otherwise, it can be submitted individually. In addition to toxicological data, polymer property data should be submitted. Often, it is recommended to use metals gel permeation chromatography, GPC, following OECD test guidelines number 118. And GPC data is required for both polymer registration and exemption certificate application. It includes number average molecular weight, distribution of molecular weight, and monomer name, Cas number, and its contents, unreacted monomer content, and contents of molecules weighted less than 1,000, and stability in acid and alkaline solutions. And last, chapter 4 is for a summary of today's presentation. Before going into summary, I'd like to introduce GPC Korea. We were working as a name of SSS Korea before, but now the name changed to GPC Korea and it's on the process. GPC Korea is a South Korean branch of GPC Group, providing chemical regulatory compliance services. GPC Korea provides only representative services for non-Korean chemical manufacturers and exporters who need to fulfill obligation under CII. Besides, as an OR, GPC offers chemical registration and its necessary dossier preparation services. GPC also provides Korean companies, manufacturers, and exporters a complete regulatory compliance service and advisory for all non-Korean destinations through GPC's other global offices and global regional partner networks. To sum up the presentation today, these are the following actions required for non-Korean chemical industry. First, you need to identify your substance, whether your substance is existing, PEC, new, polymers, or exempted. Second, check obligation under CII, whether you need registration, report, or exemption certificate. Then choose your OR in time, proceed late pre-registration, so you can extend registration deadline. Lastly, prepare registration, join a CICO as an active member to be involved and informed of all decisions and safe codes. Besides, prepare necessary dossiers for registration and communicate with other CICO members. Please note that if you manufacture or export existing chemicals more than 1,000 tons per year, you need to fulfill full registration by the end of 2021. GPC Korea offers services from identifying your substance and finding out obligation under CII, so you can always welcome to contact us about CII compliance. Thank you for today's presentation, for listening, everyone. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment.
Thank you, Ara, for a very informative presentation on the CII. And before we start the Q&A session, I have Keith, our Korean representative, with me. So I think we can have a conversation first. So the first question I would like to ask Keith is, what do you think about the CII development so far? Because it has been several years now. Can you tell us a bit about this?